Hey everyone, how's it going? For today's video, we're actually not going to be showcasing any showdown games that we're doing. Kind of doing a bit of reflection based on how last night went when we did a couple showdown games. We kind of got our butts kicked, for lack of a better word. Regulation H brings a lot of different variation to the meta that we're not necessarily used to as we stepped in during Regulation I. So a lot of today was taking a look at Clover's videos that we talked about last night and actually doing some really in-depth notation as much as we could based on those videos. So today I just wanted to kind of showcase some of the teams that I'm bringing in and doing some matches kind of off stream because I'm kind of doing a lot of them and I don't want to really overload you guys with content where I'm just not really talking and I'm just doing a lot of learning, and I'd rather bring the learning of what I have and presenting that to you guys. So that's kind of what today's video is going to be, where we kind of talk about the different teams that we are utilizing, whether that's borrowed teams or a team of our own. And that's what really we're going to talk about today. This will be kind of a different video than probably what you're used to on this channel. But the first one that we're kind of talking about is more of a hard Trick Room team, and this was Creed 1119's team that they built. This is utilizing a version of Hard Trick Room that centers around Ndidi Hatterene as like the main combo here, with doing kind of a expanding force kind of spam that you kind of do, where you kind of build up psychic terrain with just the base Ndidi being brought onto the field, and then you can utilize expanding force. And why this is more of a hard Trick Room team is that you're able to utilize Trick Room on either Hatterene here or on Ndidi. And there's a lot of synergy that you can put here by, Follow Me, Helping Hand on Ndidi with the Rocky Helmet to, tank a lot of damage with this Pokemon, and also chip some of that back to your opponent with the Rocky Helmet, and also help your Hatterene set up either, like a special attack sweeper, or utilize a Trick Room move that can further bring in someone like an Ursaluna or a Torkoal onto the metagame. The reason why this team works really well, in my opinion, is because of really two things, and that's terrain control with a Rillaboom and an Ndidi in your pocket to kind of switch between two different terrains based on what your opponent is utilizing. And we also have weather control as well with Torkoal, giving us a sunny day in case our opponent is using a Pelipper. A pro tip that I've been picking up on as I've been going through games is that the last Pokemon that can set weather is the slowest Pokemon. So usually a Pelipper is faster than Torkoal. So when Torkoal comes in, at the start of a game, Pelipper will come in and start Rain Dance. And then, you can switch in your other two Mons if they're slower. And then Torkoal will come in, usually always last, with their speed stat of being a 22. And usually you can have Sunny Day set right there. And then we also have, of course, speed control with two Pokemon that can set Trick Room. This team is a really hard focused on Trick Room, which can provide a little bit difficulty, but is a good team to have in our pocket when we're going against a couple opponents, especially as we're trying to climb ladder and learn the meta. And I really do want to put a big focus on learning the meta. Another few things that we can spot out here is Crabdominable. I don't know if that's how you pronounce it, but that's how I pronounce it. Crabominable is really good because it can kind of almost act as like a Lunala mirror, which is what we're used to in Regulation I with the Wide Guard. And it can help us with some typing matchups in this meta as well. So I would label this team as kind of our hard Trick Room team. And then we can kind of step into what I consider a Trick Room balance team. And this is Marco Fierro's team that he utilized. This is utilizing a Charizard choice specs that heavily relies on the weather conditions that are brought in by Torkoal, as we talked about later. A big difference here is the eject pack on Torkoal that allows us to utilize something like an overheat, for example. Whereas anytime we get a stat decrease, we're able to do a free switch out after we do damage, which is pretty huge, especially when we talk about putting in, let's say we open up with the Charizard and Torkoal. We have two Mons that are fire type on the field, and we can kind of react to our opponent and what they have out on the field and maybe put in a type of counter. Charizard is built up with a choice specs here as kind of a special attack sweeper, and he utilizes things like Weather Ball, Air Slash, Overheat, and Heat Wave, kind of giving us a very aggressive start to a match. And then depending on how the match goes and what their team comp looks like, we have Jump Bluff that can do Tailwind, or we can do Porygon that can do Trick Room. And with Trick Room, of course, we pair in Ursaluna. And then kind of the glue to the team based on whichever approach that we go with is Incineroar. And you'll kind of notice as we go between these teams, we either go fully in one direction of a speed control, we either step into the middle, and that's really kind of what we're going with most of these teams. And we're really looking at Pokemon that can kind of be either flex positions or glue Pokemon that can kind of match the speed control on one end of the spectrum and on the other end of the spectrum and be useful in both of those formats. Which is super helpful when we're looking at bringing in, only 4 Pokemon into a match. Having those type of glue Pokemon that can fit in either a faster team or a slower team is really helpful. Another team that we're utilizing is Neil Schlatter's team. This is utilizing, again, a variation of that hard Trick Room that we're talking about with a little difference and some things that I've tweaked in here as well. We've put in a Zoroark that acts as our special attack sweeper instead. And then we also have Gallade here that acts as our physical attack sweeper with some fighting moves as well. And then we have a team that I've been focusing on building myself. So there's going to be a lot of things that we can, tweak in here, and this is going to be the main thing that we're optimizing and learning with. So what I tried to do was conceptualize the Regulation I team that we were utilizing, because I felt like, at least for me personally, that I was able to get some good victories with that team. So trying to find the non-restricted Pokemon that filled similar roles was what I was going with here. So, of course, Ursaluna was a solid choice in both formats and was part of my winning condition in most games when it came to last week. So I know for certainty that Ursaluna is a Pokemon that I want on my team because I know that Pokemon and how it performs competitively in and out. And we can pair that with Pokemon that filled the similar roles that we saw in Regulation I. So, of course, Amoonguss fills the same slot as like a Brute Bonnet would because they're both mushroom Pokemon. We're putting in Incineroar that's kind of almost acting like a Chi-Yu almost with what it can do, but it also allows us a bit more rotation control in what we can do. Rillaboom is helping us as well with kind of like a tankier set that can allow us to do a few different things, especially with, 2 Pokemon that can perform Fake Out. We also get terrain control with Rillaboom. We also have in Dragapult, which almost is kind of like our Flutter Mane that we were kind of talking about as well. That kind of allows us to, really sweep Pokemon in a faster setting. And then Porygon is almost like our Lunala in a way, where it can kind of do a Terra Blast, Ice Beam, and Trick Room, and is a bit more of a bulkier Pokemon that allows us to do things. So as we go through Regulation H, we'll mainly be using this team that I've built here and adding some tweaks and things like that. But this is a good start after doing a few trial matches and whatnot. But this is something I wanted to bring up to you guys as we're switching into Regulation H. And kind of, we know how Showdown works. We know most of the things that people are going to do. And I've been taking notes through Clover's videos on, what are the most common, team types that we'll encounter and how can we accurately counter those as well. So today's video was really just going to be going about, the type of teams that we'll be utilizing and really trying to find the right fit for our play style and try to discover, what play style as a VGC player gives us the best win ratio, really, is what we're trying to find. Whether that's hyper offensive with high speed or, a more balanced team or a more hard trick room team. And that's really what we're here to try to find out over this next week. Is I'm hoping at the end of this week, we really do get a type of team that we're comfortable with and that we're able to push ladder with effectively. So that's kind of it for this video, was to kind of talk about those teams that we utilized. And I'll kind of be playing through a few of these and I'll highlight a few matches in the next couple days. But I really don't want to bore you guys with, say, hour to 2 hour to 3 hour long videos of me just constantly trying to push ladder, trying to figure out a team. I'd rather come back to you guys with analysis. If you disagree with that sentiment, please let me know, and I can, definitely upload every Showdown match that I utilize. But I felt like as a viewer trying to watch these videos, it'd be better to bring my results to you guys and at least define the actions that I perform to get those results. So just let me know if you prefer one format or the other. But other than that, guys, this will be the end of the video. We're going to grind some ladder, and hopefully tomorrow I'll be able to provide some feedback for you guys. But that'll be it for today. Peace.